So I am here with a product showcase. Actually, I'm going to show you two different flower sets. This one is called Simply Beautiful, and this one is called Petals of Beauty. Both of them have die sets that go with the stamp set. I'm going to start with this one. The Simply Beautiful set, the reason that I chose this one is, actually there's two reasons. First of all, I like an image like this, where there's all these different flower petal layers, and there is a framelit that's going to cut it out, because if I stamp it 2 or 3 times, die cut it 2 or 3 times, and then I take my scissors and I fussy cut around one layer of flowers here, and I can glue that on top an image. I can probably get 2 or 3 little fussy cut sets of image out of this and really make it a fluffy image. I like that. Second, I like the font. I love having this combination of scripty with the block letters. It has a to from, which isn't in everything. To the happy couple, that's a little bit of an unusual sentiment. And I like having a little thing like this because you can do some overstamping. So for example, you can stamp that in a light color and come back and stamp the words in dark on top of that lighter image. I like all those little artistic things that we can do. Besides the fact that I do have a couple of customers who really like to color, and this is a great set for people who like to color. The dies. So we looked at the images in the stamp set. There's a lot of images over here, a lot of dies that are framelits, but then there's all these extra dies, and that really was like the push over to say, yeah, I needed to get this set. So let me show you what the special dies do. These that are the framelits, you know what they're going to do. I mean, this one here is just going to cut out the leaves, and this great big open one here is going to cut out the flower. You know what the big open ones do, but it's these special other dies. Oh my goodness, look at this stuff, you guys. Wow. Wait, I don't want to lose what's underneath here. Secret. I'll show you in just a minute. So here are the big fluffy dies. Okay. These two big ones right here, and then there's 2 small ones down here that are going to cut out these. They have holes in them. I mean, it's big and fluffy. There's lots of holes in them, but if you save the stuff that punches out of the hole, you can do them in contrasting color and glue it back into the hole. This is a technique called inlay. So if I rub my fingers over it, you're not feeling any difference in the layers there. You got a couple of extra leaves, again with the holes in them. Again, I could do inlay with them. These are all things that cut out that aren't part of the framelits. They're just extra dies that you get with this. These things in black, these could be the centers of a flower. So you could layer something like this. Look at this. Isn't this awesome? So fun. And I didn't even put any leaves on there yet. So here would be like the center of the flower, and then I did them in different colors so you could see how fluffy it looks. But you could really do a lot of fun stuff. And if you follow any of my stuff, you know that when there's a hole and stuff pops out of the hole, I tend to save all those little bits and bobs that pop out, because you could do stuff with this too. I mean, start thinking Halloween. These could be like creepy hands coming out from behind a tombstone. Or think like some of our silly little wonky animals. This could be like a tuft of hair. If you've seen the movie Up, think Kevin, when you see something like that popping up off the head of somebody. This could be, you put a whole bunch of them next to each other. It could be seaweed coming up off the bottom of an ocean, or die cut them in browns and make some grass in the fall, or do something with a desert scene. There's a lot of stuff you can do with these little die cut parts if you just let your brain play around with it. So I did play around a little bit. I made a couple of samples. So here are the samples I made with that set. Get down here. This one. And I was playing around with that new textured paper, nature textured hues paper. So that's very pretty. So there's a little bit of layering. Oh, and I should point out also that even though you have some of these smaller images, there is no way that these dies symmetrically layered on top of the stamped image, but they could just add dimension by layering them on top of the stamped image. I never got that far. Played with too many other things instead. This was one of my trade cards this for January. So this one I stamped on the white paper, or the green paper, and then colored in a green marker, stamped on white, and then die cut it and layered it on top. This one I was having a play with some watercolor in a couple of versions of it, upside down apparently. So yeah, it's nice for doing watercolor kind of thing. And then this one, I was playing around with one of the other specialty papers. If you can see the embossing in there, it's called the Irresistible Designs. And actually the flower that's in there, hard to see in this lighting, but there's a flower in here, and it's a pretty good match for actually for the flower in that stamp set. All right, that is the Simply Beautiful. This is Petals of Beauty. And the thing that is a little more unique about this, different from the first one that I showed you, is that this is a two-step stamp set. All right, so let's see, I just pulled the wrong one out. I keep mine in the same container here, so there's the die and there's the stamp set, and I just keep them in the same envelope together. So this is a two-step stamp set. You stamp this one first to get your background color, and then you stamp some detail on top of it, which is what I did in this sample here. I did another event with a different group where the focus was on some techniques with embossing folders. So it's the same card, just 3 versions of it. Think layouts like we were talking about in the first session today on Saturday. This one is just plain, and these are the dies from this set. And then this one, I embossed the whole thing and put a sentiment strip on top. And on this one, I showed the special technique of emboss from the bottom, emboss from the top, and leave that middle area empty and flat for coming in to do your stamping. But it is the two-step stamp set. And when you look at the images here, you can see that this could be a third image to put on top. This could be the centers of these little flowers. This would be the center of the 2 bigger flowers. So very nice and simple stamp set. I should point out there's no sentiments in here. So for the month of January, and as long as it lasts into February, that's a great chance to pull out and talk to people about this product of the month. These are my little notes to myself. It says I checked it, and it's okay to put it away because they're all in here. But this is like an amazing set, I think. I love the sentiments that are in here. At the last leader live, that they did on Facebook, they did mention that for these first couple of product of the month that they've kind of overstocked. So this one hopefully will continue to be around for a little bit longer. But there's no guarantee with product of the month. It could be gone by the time you're listening to this video. All right, the dies that go with this, once again, there are some dies that are open, and they're the framelits that are going to cut out the stamped images, and then there's some extra dies, and I did die cut these as well for you. So, oops, a little bit of a messed up here. The messed up on that one is only that it got bent, not that it's not torn though. That's the way the die does it. It leaves that open there. You can see here and here and here that these big fluffy dies, this one and these 2 up here, they're going to cut something that's a little more open. All right, this was the wrong order to show you these. Oh, totally wrong order. So there's the framelits intended to be stamped on. So pretty with that 2-step stamping. You really get some lovely coloring on it. And then this is the extra dies and there's the leaf dies. This one can layer on top of there. It could also layer on top of there. And just like I showed you with the other set, you can do this inlay thing, right? Die cut it in both the dark and the light green. Took the middle and die cut this from the dark green. Die cut the big one from the light green, and then die cut that one also from the light green and stuck the dark green one in, if that makes sense. And just like on the other set, these are not symmetrical. There's no way to twist that fluffy layer and make it perfectly line up with the other die, the framelit die. They're not symmetrical. They just need to look layery when you put them together. And once again, when you have anything with holes, save all the little extra bits and bobs because you can do things with them. You could do an inlay on that one. You could turn these into flames in a fire or candle flames. You could add them as leaves on any long piece. You could make your own little flower out of them, turn them sideways, put little eyeballs on them and make them fish. I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff you can do when you have shapes. But anyway, I do like flowers. I use flowers on a lot of my images, and there really isn't a whole lot of redundancy on these 2 sets. I'm glad I got them both. So, again, Petals of Beauty and beautiful layers, wherever the name of it is down here, Simply Beautiful. Sorry, Petals of Beauty, Simply Beautiful, and then that product of the month.